Planet Mars. What does Mars represent in astrology? Warrior, conqueror, surgeon. In astrology, Mars is the planet of strength, action, and willpower. Mars rules the signs of Aries and Scorpio. It is in detriment in Taurus and Libra, exalted in Capricorn, and falls in Cancer. So what does Mars represent? Mars shows how we take action, how we fight, and how we use our physical energy in the birth chart. In a way, the Sun shows what we want, Venus shows what we desire, but Mars shows how we pursue and act on those wants and desires. It is the energy of propulsion. It pushes us forward. Energy, courage, boldness, anger, willpower, pressure, conflict, and fire. These are all key words of Mars. Mars completes a full orbit of the zodiac in about 1.5 to 2.5 years, spending an average of 2 months in each sign. Physically, Mars is associated with muscles, blood, red blood cells, the gallbladder, male sexual organs, and body temperature regulation. In astrology, Mars is linked to Aries in the first house, Scorpio in the 8th house. When functioning positively, Mars brings out courage, heroism, determination, ambition, chivalry, composure, mercy, and decisiveness. But when afflicted in the chart or under harsh aspects, it may lead to aggression, resentment, rudeness, outbursts of anger, selfishness, cruelty, and even physical accidents. Remember, Mars energy can push you forward, but when uncontrolled, it can also be the fire that burns you the most. Planet Mars in astrology, symbolism and meaning. Mars, the first planet outside Earth's orbit, is often called the red planet due to its iron oxide-rich surface that gives it a reddish appearance. It is the ruler of Aries and Scorpio and the exaltation ruler of Capricorn. Mars symbolizes outward-moving, pushing energy. It's the planet of action, conflict, effort, and physical assertion. While Venus is about preserving energy, Mars is about spending it, aggressively if needed. Where Mars is placed in the birth chart shows where you exert the most energy, especially in contrast to Venus. It's also how you fight, assert your free will, and express your physical behavior. In financial astrology, Mars is linked to sales. It's the energy that initiates, attacks, and drives things forward. Mars represents both mental and physical reactions. Evolutionarily, it's connected to survival, our reaction to threats, fear, or danger. That's why it governs repulsion, disgust, and our instinct to fight or flee. When poorly expressed, Mars can manifest as aggression, restlessness, manipulation, recklessness, rage, or spite. Mythologically, Mars is associated with war gods and destruction, especially through fire. It rules over muscles, blood, injuries, burns, and scars, anything involving heat, fire, or physical damage. In short, Mars is the drive that pushes you into action, but if misdirected, it can be the force that destroys. How Mars expresses itself in the zodiac signs. Mars in astrology. Once we understand what we desire through Venus, our next step is to ask how we go after it, and for that, we look at Mars. In a woman's natal chart, Mars is traditionally said to represent her ideal masculine type, not because it literally points to the perfect man, but because it shows how she has been conditioned to perceive masculinity and how she expects to be treated by men. Whether it brings pleasure or pain often depends on how you use your Mars, and this includes your sexual expression. Mars reveals how you act on your desires and how you approach attraction. For both men and women, Mars indicates how we express our assertiveness and whether we align with or rebel against gender norms. A woman with Mars in Aries, for example, may be seen as the one who chases, bold and dominant. Meanwhile, a man with Mars in Cancer might be unfairly labeled as soft or passive, simply because his drive expresses itself in more nurturing, domestic ways. But remember, neither placement is bad for love or sexuality. Social biases may shape our views, but astrology reveals the deeper truth. Mars in Aries. You like to lead in relationships. You crave intensity, excitement, and challenge. You're spontaneous, passionate, and bold, but sometimes a bit too assertive. You prefer partners who are brave but not overly dominant. If your enthusiasm isn't matched, relationships might end as fast as they begin. With Mars conjunct Venus, especially in fire signs or the first house, you may experience a deeply satisfying romantic life. Mars in Taurus. You want stability, and you show love through physical gestures and reliability. Sensual, steady, and deliberate, you may not chase after what you want impulsively, but you're deeply committed once invested. You might express love through thoughtful gifts or practical help, and you enjoy physical affection in calm, intimate settings, like cuddling or simply lying in bed with someone you love. Mars in Gemini. What you truly desire is conversation, mental stimulation, and verbal play. You're turned on by words, wit, and the feeling of being mentally in sync with your partner. Though you may mask your sensitivity with humor or endless chatter, deep down, you fear rejection. That's why rather than risking vulnerability, you may channel your sexual energy into intellectual pursuits. You're not afraid of commitment. You're afraid of emotional hurt. If there's strong mental compatibility and your partner understands your emotional needs, everything flows naturally. For best compatibility, look for someone whose Venus is in an air sign, or someone with Venus-Mercury conjunctions, especially in the third house. Your Mars making a sextile or trine to their Sun, Moon, or Mercury will also bring emotional and intellectual harmony. You're a tender soul who seeks emotional closeness and physical affection. Touch is essential, both giving and receiving. You likely want a family one day. However, without self-awareness, you may become overly clingy or possessive, trying to protect your partner by wrapping around them like ivy. Your intentions are good. You want to care, nurture, and meet your loved one's every need. This means your ideal match is someone who appreciates a bit of emotional dependency, but also brings strength and stability. Your best matches are people with strong Mars and Aries, Venus and water signs, or a Venus-Moon conjunction, especially in the fourth house. If their Venus is near your IC, the emotional bond can feel like home. Mars in Leo. You crave attention, and you're not afraid to demand it. Whether in love or in life, you want to be seen, appreciated, and admired. When it comes to sex, you're direct and passionate, but maybe not the most gentle. You may not be pushy, but you know how to get what you want. You dislike games and value loyalty. In return, you expect complete devotion. Look for a partner with Venus and fire signs, especially in the fifth house or in conjunction with your Sun. However, be mindful, if that Venus is in hard aspect with Uranus, emotional stability matters. Mars in Virgo. You want a healthy, reliable, and practical partner. You're not cold, but you're not obsessed with sex either. You'd rather channel your energy into useful pursuits. You carefully choose who to be with and where and how the relationship unfolds. You're not spontaneous, but that doesn't mean you're boring, just cautious and grounded. You dislike impulsiveness and prefer planned intimacy. Even if you enjoy variety, you value commitment and tend to avoid casual flings. The best match for you? Someone with Mars and Earth signs, in the sixth house, or someone whose Mercury conjuncts or sextiles your Mars. Mars in Libra. You desire a partner who walks beside you, not ahead or behind. You dislike being alone and are often willing to compromise your needs to maintain harmony. You tend to avoid confrontation, yet you want a relationship that promotes growth and balance. You may rush into relationships to avoid loneliness, but you also need the freedom to evolve within them. The best matches come from air signs, especially if Venus is in your seventh house or forms a trine with your Mars. Mars in Scorpio. You want sex, and you want it intensely. But here lies the paradox. Even though your drive is strong, Scorpio's passive nature makes it hard to openly express desires. You may even deny your needs to yourself, especially for women. Mars in Scorpio can manifest as repressed sexual energy, sometimes due to upbringing, religious influence, or lack of a suitable partner. When your desire is finally awakened, it can overwhelm both you and others. You need a partner who can adapt to both your open and closed phases. Look for someone with Venus in water signs in the 8th house or conjunct Pluto for best emotional and sexual compatibility. Mars in Sagittarius. You go after what you believe in, and it's hard for you to desire anything you don't feel passionate about. You fight to earn what you want. That might include chasing knowledge, travel, freedom, or just the right to live life on your own terms. You're open to many relationships, but you're also open to letting them end. You need freedom in love, no strings, no guilt. You enjoy adventure, spontaneity, and people who can expand your worldview. Your best match? Someone with Venus in a fire sign in the 9th house or in aspect to Jupiter. Sun or finding less. Mars in Capricorn. You desire progress and recognition in love and in life. You want a partner who helps you move forward and achieve your goals, but you also hold high expectations of yourself and others. You're not selfish, you just don't settle. Romance needs structure and loyalty. You may fantasize about eternal love stories, but in real life, you know that stability and effort matter most. You don't mind routine, but you do mind emotional laziness. Seek someone with Venus in an earth sign in the 10th house, or in aspect to Saturn, Mars in Aquarius. You want a friend first and a lover second. You feel more comfortable in intellectual or platonic dynamics than intense, passionate ones. You value freedom and detest clinginess. Your ideal partner is innovative, independent, and maybe even a little rebellious. Because your love style is so diverse and non-traditional, it's hard to pin you down with labels. You're an idealist at heart, and you often keep the door open for the right person longer than others would. Look for Venus in air signs in the 1st house, or an aspect to Uranus. Mars in Pisces. You need time to feel. You're not aggressive or demanding, especially not when it comes to sex or emotional intimacy. You may express desire in subtle, poetic, or even confusing ways. Sometimes your intentions are so gentle they get misread or missed entirely. You don't like pushy partners, and you dislike being pressured. Instead, you need someone deeply sensitive and understanding, someone who gives you the space and energy to open up. Your best match? Someone with Venus in water signs, in the 12th house, or in conjunction with Neptune. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Astrology of Scholars for more deep and meaningful astrology content. See you in the next one.